I'm Talking Champion Helmets and I'll be explaining everything you need to know about the Shark Riddle 2. First off, it's a sport touring helmet, and this category of helmets is designed to balance performance, comfort and convenience design elements into one helmet. They'll usually have an aerodynamic outer shell and great ventilation, but also be equipped with an integrated sun visor and preparations for a communication system. The Shark Riddle 2 has an integrated sun visor and a micromatic closure, and it's got a recommended retail price of €170, and in this price range it'll compete against helmets like the HSA i71, the Scorpion XO 520 Evo and the Nolan N88 to name a few examples. It's available in sizes XS to 2XL. And what size would you need? Well, grab a tape cloth and measure the circumference of your head starting at an inch above the eyebrows. Then take a look at the specific sizing chart and see what size fits you best. Alright, enough introduction, let's start with our first segment. We kick things off by looking at the material of the Shark Riddle 2, and in this segment we'll be using our material matrix to look at two things. First, the material the outer shell is made of, and then secondly, we look at the amount of outer shell sizes this helmet is available in. More outer shell sizes is beneficial because this will make the outer shell more compact across the different sizes the helmet is available in. The Riddle 2 is made of polycarbonate, and which we see often in this price range. And polycarbonate is common amongst entry-level helmets because it's relatively inexpensive. There is a drawback, however. In general, polycarbonate helmets need more material than fiberglass and carbon fiber helmets to meet the same safety requirements, which makes them a bit heavier. Furthermore, the Riddle 2 is available in two outer shell sizes, which is kind of below average. In summary, the Riddle 2 earns 2.5 stars for material, so we start this review with some room for improvement for Shark. But let's see how it does in our weight segment. So, time for our weight segment, where we'll put these helmets on the scale and see how they perform for their weight. And we'll use a scale that's accurate to the gram, and to make the competition fair, we've weighed every helmet in a size M without any additional features. Finally, we run the results for our weight matrix to determine star scores. Let's see how they performed. When we weighed the Riddle 2, our scale indicated a weight of 1459 grams, which is honestly very impressive considering the polycarbonate outer shell and the fact that the Riddle 2 also has an integrated sun visor, which adds some weight. And with this performance, the helmet earns a solid 3 stars, and that covers it for our weight segment. Let's continue to our visor segment. Alright. We've arrived at the visor segment, and here we'll be using our visor matrix to judge the visor features and characteristics of the Shark Riddle 2. But naturally, not every visor feature is equally as impactful on your riding experience, and that's why we've weighed them based on what riders ask us about the most. Let's look what the visor of the Riddle 2 is equipped with. First off, the Riddle 2 is equipped with an integrated sun visor, and this sun visor can be dropped down in a rather peculiar way, as the drop down mechanism is located at the very top of the shell. Aside from the sun visor, the visor has a wide field of vision and a decent visor mechanism. However, while this helmet does have a preparation for a Pinlock 70 lens, it doesn't come with the Pinlock in the box, which is a huge downside. All in all, the Shark Riddle 2 earns 2.5 stars for its visor. A decent result, but this helmet has much more potential and really loses out on stars because the Pinlock lens has to be bought separately. Anyways, that's it for our visor part. Let's continue on to our road test segments. Alright, time to take the Shark Riddle 2 out on the road and measure to what extent it's able to isolate the outside noise. And our testing method is as follows. We place a decibel meter inside the helmet close to our test rider's ear, and this records the sound the same way as he hears it. And we take our measurements from long stretches of open highway, riding an average of 130 km per hour. Let's look at the results. Our testing showed that the Shark Riddle 2 averaged around 106 decibels, which is a bit below average even for a budget-friendly helmet. Keep this result in mind if you're interested in buying this helmet, because you'll definitely need earplugs to protect your hearing. All in all, the Shark Riddle 2 earns 2 stars here. Time to move on to ventilation. Here we're going to test to what extent the Shark Riddle 2 is able to keep your head cool out on the road, and we measure this by placing a sensor inside the Riddle 2, constantly keeping track of the inside temperature, and at the same time we keep track of the outside temperature, and then we compare the two. Finally, we use our ventilation matrix to determine star scores, and the smaller the difference between the in and outside temperature, the more stars it earns. During our testing, the Shark Riddle 2 was only 0.5 degrees Celsius warmer inside compared to the outside temperature, and with this result the Riddle earns 4 stars, and this is actually very impressive, especially for an entry-level helmet. That's it for ventilation, let's move on to comfort. Alright, we've already covered lots of performance related criteria, but is the Riddle 2 comfortable to wear? That's exactly what we'll be talking about in this segment. However, it can present a challenge for us as it's hard to translate the comfort of a helmet into concrete numbers. That's why we're partially relying on the 17 years of riding experience of our test rider, who has also tested all the other helmets and can therefore make a comparison like no other. We'll also be taking the comfort features of the Riddle 2 into account, so let's start with that. The cheek pads inside the helmet have an exceptionally soft feeling to them, but the inner liner isn't exactly loaded with features. The padding is removable, washable, and it's also glasses friendly. But besides that, there isn't much to talk about. Our test rider noted that the Riddle 2 felt very similar to the Shark Squall i3. And this actually makes sense because Shark used the same technology to design the inner liner for both helmets. All in all, the Riddle 2 earns 2.5 stars for comfort, and we've got one last segment to go before our final conclusion. Yes, okay, in this segment we'll be taking a look at all the bells and whistles this helmet is equipped with. We've set up our matrix in which many different features are listed, but naturally not every feature is equally as impactful on your riding experience, and that's why we've weighted them based on what riders ask us about the most. Let's look at the results. Shark has equipped the Riddle 2 with speaker pockets for their Sharktooth communication system or any other universal system that you can stick or clip to the side of a helmet. However, do keep in mind that you don't really have a dedicated space for the battery unit. Besides that, the Riddle 2 is glasses friendly and carries the latest certifications, of course. That's about it. It's a relatively short list of features for which the Riddle 2 earns 2 stars. Let's continue on to our final conclusion. So, how did the Riddle 2 actually do? Let's start by putting every performance side by side, and the Riddle 2 has an average starter material where it earned 2.5 stars for its polycarbonate outer shell and 2 outer shell sizes. Then in our weight segment, it earned 3 stars for weighing in at 1459 grams. After weight came our visor segment, where the Riddle earned 2.5 stars for having an integrated sun visor and a wild field of vision. It is pinlock prepared, but it doesn't come with one, which was disappointing to see. Then the Riddle 2 really struggled on noise isolation, where we measured an average of 106 decibels, for which it earns 2 stars. In our second road test, things turned around for the Riddle 2, but its impressive temperature difference of only plus 0.5 degrees Celsius, for which it earned 4 stars. In our last 2 segments, the Riddle 2 earned 2.5 stars for comfort, and on the plus side, the helmet felt similar to that of the Shark Squall i3, and this helmet is a bit more expensive. And finally, in our feature segment, it earned 2 stars for having speaker pockets and for being glasses friendly. Besides that, the Riddle 2 doesn't have that many features. All in all, the Riddle 2 earned an average of 2.6 stars, for which you pay €9 per star. This is a decent value for money rating, which makes the Riddle 2 an interesting option for beginner riders. However, keep in mind that you'll still have to buy a pinlock lens separately, which will add to your total price. Riders, that's it for our review of the Shark Riddle 2, and this helmet had a few strong performances, like in our weight and ventilation segments, but also failed to meet expectation in others, like our visor and noise isolation tests. Hopefully this review helps you make an informed decision on whether or not you're interested in the Shark Riddle 2. The Shark Riddle 2 and the other helmets mentioned in this video are available at championhelmets.com, where we have the lowest price guaranteed and very sharp discount bundles. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this in your feed. Guys, buy smart and ride safe. Until next time.